Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my bookish monthly report. So I decided to bring you guys a monthly bookish report video. I'm going to be doing these every month throughout the year. So at the end of the month, I'll bring you guys my bookish report. I'm going to include my wrap up and my reading journal updates. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the books that I read in the month of January. And I'm also going to show you guys my January reading journal updates. So if you're curious about reading journals and how I update mine, what I did to it, which, side note, I have been obsessed with updating my reading journal. I've always wanted to be a reading journal girly, and I didn't start one until last year, but I kept it up. I would say like 50% of it. This year I'm 100% into it. And you guys, I started doing book spreads, which are my favorite thing ever. I only did 2 this last month because I had like 2 favorite books. Can't wait to do it again this month, but obviously I can't yet because like I'm still in my first read of the month. I'm not doing it for every book that I read, but I can't wait to show you guys. That's gonna be at the end of the video. Doing my reading journal, putting on an audiobook, having a fun little drink, doing my reading journal, crafts, cutting, gluing, like everything. I've had so much fun, and I really absolutely recommend having a reading journal. If you don't have one yet, it's definitely not too late to start one. I do have a journal setup video going in depth of all of my spreads and what I'm doing, but in this video, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you guys what I did throughout the month and stuff. We're going to start off the video with talking about the books that I read in the month of January. I read 8 books this last month. So the first book that I read was Keep Me by Sarah Kate. I rated this book 3 stars. This is a billionaire romance, marriage of convenience, age gap, forced proximity, grumpy. So it's not Grumpy Sunshine, it's kind of 2 grumpy characters. This book follows this girl who is kind of struggling economically, and she's on this trip with her boyfriend in Scotland, and she goes into this house. First of all, why are you going into someone's house? She goes into his house and she bumps into this grumpy man. Obviously, you kind of broke into his house. Obviously, they don't have a great first start. He kicks her out, as he should. And she goes home. His sister shows up to where she lives, and she's like, hey, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to marry my brother. We need to trick him into giving us the house that he's living in, which is like his parents' house, and they passed away and the family wants it. And she's like, we will pay you so much money. I think it was like $2 million, something crazy like that. I don't remember exactly. Just marry him for like a year, and then we will put the papers into our name. She agrees. Obviously she needs some money, and he knows it's an arranged marriage, but like he thinks it's for something else. Like he doesn't know that he's getting tricked into it. They don't like each other. They have to live in the same house. They slowly start have feelings for each other, but she obviously knows that she's lying to him, and she's kind of worried of how that is going to play out. It was not a bad book. Like I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, which is why it's a 3-star. There is some like anxiety rep and some like really nice representation in this book, but other than that, I didn't really love it. So this was 3 stars for me. Then I read Dishonestly Yours by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This was a 4-star read for me. I really wanted to read another Krista and Becca Ritchie book that wasn't the Addicted series. That's all I've ever read by them, which I love, but I really wanted a whole new world, new everything. And so when I saw this at the library, I had to pick it up. I actually really enjoyed this book. Childhood friends to lovers, childhood friends, using that term very loosely. Best friend's brother, found family, takes place in a small town, coastal small town. It's filled with tension, banter, all that good stuff. This book is about 2 con artist family, 2 girl best friends. They've always grown up in this world of like rich people doing all these jobs and pretending to be people they're not, which I found that plot very interesting. I really enjoy that aspect of this book. These two best friends, they decide they kind of don't want to do this anymore. They don't want to do the conning anymore. They just want a fresh start and be normal. But the best friend's brother shows up and he's like, I'm coming with you guys. They didn't tell anyone, but he showed up and they have to bring him along because they can't risk anyone else knowing that they're just not continuing with the family business and running away. They end up moving to the small town, and Rocky is very protective of Phoebe and obviously his sister. This book takes you kind of two timelines. It's the past where you get to see the jobs that they did together, and the present where they're trying to set up their new life in this small town. You get to see Rocky and Phoebe's relationship throughout the past and the jobs that they did together and how they acted towards each other, versus now where kind of like they want something to happen but they also can't let it happen. And I really enjoyed this book because it's just, I really liked, like I said, I really enjoyed the whole con artist plot of this, where it showed you all the jobs that they were in. It was very interesting, and Rocky he's such a good book boyfriend because he is super protective and he's not your regular guy. Obviously, I'm gonna be reading the next book that comes out soon, I think. Once again, Kristen Becca Ritchie hooked me. Okay, then I read Quicksilver, which kind of started my fantasy era back up again. I completely fell into a fantasy hole, which I have a reading only fantasy books reading vlog if you guys want to go watch that. I read Quicksilver and I enjoyed this one a lot. This was 4.5 stars for me. It's enemies to lovers, touch her and die. It has vampires, fae, shadow daddy, if that's what you're into. Lots of banter, lots of tension. I ate this one up and I can't wait to read the next book. I don't like talking much about the plot in a fantasy book because personally, I've said this before, I like to go in blind into a fantasy book. The less you know, the better, personally. I mean, this book has been talked about a lot already and I feel like it deserves the hype that it gets. I mean, the characters were all amazing. Kingfisher I love, but also I loved Carrion. I loved him so much. Honestly, I really did. I don't know when the next book releases, but this book would recommend if you're into romantasy, looking for a new romantasy book to read, and you've probably heard about this book. This is your sign to pick it up. I decided to reread Fourth Wing because I read this when it came out. I read it. I never read Iron Flame. I wanted to read Fourth Wing before I went into Iron Flame just to refresh my mind. But I thoroughly enjoyed this reread so much. I think the reread was so much fun, especially going back and knowing what I know. It was definitely an experience. This was a 5-star read for me the first time, and it was the second time. This is a War College Dragons, Shadow Daddy again, enemies to lovers, all the goodness. This is in the reading vlog, the fantasy reading vlog, and the next 2 books are also in the reading vlog, so it's 3 books in that fantasy reading vlog. Enjoyed this book so much. Again, I love these characters, I love the world, I love the plot, everything has me hooked. After that, I went in and read A Reign of Rose by Kate Golden. This is the 3rd and last book in this series, so it is a trilogy. I enjoyed this series so much. I think my favorite were the first and second book, especially the first book. It's just the tension and the banter in the first book was unmatched. This one was 4.5 stars for me. This whole series was so fun. Okay, maybe not fun, but entertaining. And our main character, Kane, he is great. The whole plot of this series, there's a war going on. Our main character, Arwen, she gets taken by the opposing territory. She has healing powers, so they kind of use her for healing. First book, she's trying to leave and just go back home. Every main character in a fantasy always wants to go back home. Even if she doesn't have a house, she lives on the streets, she wants to go home. Like, just stay with the fantasy book boyfriend. I promise you, he's better. So in the first book, she's trying to escape, and then I can't talk about the rest. You're gonna have to read it. I feel like this book doesn't get talked about, or not this book, but the series doesn't get talked about enough. I feel like more people should talk about it and read it. So again, if you're looking for a romantasy series, powers, enemies to lovers, tension, banter, check out the series. It's only a trilogy, so you could read it super quickly. Also, touch her and die vibes. Then I read Iron Flame. This was 5 stars for me. I loved it from start to finish. It was so good. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. The found family just keeps getting better throughout the series. The plot twist, the cliffhanger in this book. I'm not going to talk about the plot. Obviously, it's book 2. Don't want to spoil anything. This one was an experience. This one was, I want to say it was my favorite, but I think it's tied with Fourth Wing. 5 stars. No notes. Perfect. Then I read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. My favorite book of the month. This was everything and more. I love Ali Hazelwood so much, but this book, I loved it so much. 5 stars, obviously. It is a STEM romance. He falls first and hard. Definition of man obsessed. Forbidden love because they work together. So it's work proximity, and they're also kind of rivals, work rivals. So in this book, we have Rue and Eli. Rue is a very emotionally unavailable character, and she's usually a one night type of girl. That's it. One night, I'm not ever speaking to you again, never seeing you again. She's like, I can't do anything more than that. So she's supposed to meet with Eli, who she met on an app. They meet at this hotel, but they're at the bar. So something happens and she ends up going home. He takes her home. She goes to work the next day, and guess who's there? Eli. He is now kind of, I wouldn't say the boss of her, but he kind of, like, his group purchases the company or something like that. I don't know the logistics of it, but he's there now. He is obviously not doing okay. This man was obsessed since day one. He seeks her out. She doesn't want to have anything to do with him, but at the same time, like, she really can't stay away either. It's just so good. The quotes in this book, like the amount of highlights I have in this Kindle, I need to go get a physical copy and transfer them, but I'm just obsessed with this book. And honestly, this is my favorite Ali Hazelwood book to this day. But you guys, Deep End is on my bookshelf staring at me right now. The thing about Ali Hazelwood, every book that I read them all in order of publication, and every book that I read just beats the last book. And I love this one so much. I don't know if Deep End could beat this. You're gonna have to watch my next month's wrap up. And you know what? I related a lot to Rue, a lot of aspects of her life. So love this one. Absolutely love it. I need my copy now. The last book that I read this month was Onyx Storm. This book was 4.5 stars. The only reason why I didn't get that 0.5 to be a 5 star is because I feel like it started a little bit slow, maybe dragged out, but the whole plot, amazing. The characters, amazing. I fell in love with these characters times 100 in this book. I loved them in Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. My feelings for them just in this book. All of them. Xaden, do not get me started on Xaden. Xaden leveled up so much in this book. I didn't even know that was possible. He is in my top 3 book boyfriends. Top 1, so hot in this book. And I've seen people say that Onyx Storm was his love letter to Violet, and I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. The way that Xaden loves Violet in this book is just, I can't even put it to words. All these characters, so good. Top 2nd character in this book, Riddick. I mean, if you've read this book, you know. Riddick is probably your favorite too. I adore him. Mr. I Hate Sewing. That ending though, I don't want to talk about it. If that is the vibe for the next book is gonna be painful. It's gonna be hard to read because it's just tough. This is in the fantasy reading blog. I ended the video with this, so if you want to go watch that, quotes, reactions, thoughts, everything in that video. I really can't say much about this because it's the 3rd book. Probably not everyone has read this yet, so I'm gonna stay quiet. These are all the books that I read in the month of January. That is my wrap up portion of this video. We're gonna move on to my reading journal. I'm gonna show you guys the updates I've done on my reading journal in the month of January, what's new, what I'm planning to do, everything I did, all of that I'll show you guys right now. Okay, let's get into my reading journal and what it looks like with 1 month of reading. This notebook is from Dingbat's Notebook, and I think I have a code with them. I will put it in the description box and I'll put the link so you guys can go straight to their website. I really do love this journal. I love the paper. It's super thick. My markers don't bleed through, which is very important because I like to decorate my pages. But let's just get started. I have a video of me going in depth of setup, but for this part of this video, I'm just gonna go in and show you guys the updates that I did this month. And then as you can see here, I read 8 books in the month of January, so I went ahead and added that to my bar graph. It's just fun to see the difference in months. Then I have my reading log. I added all of the books that I read this month and then my reading. So for date, I don't go in with like specific dates because I have a calendar later on in my journal, but I like to see an overall what month I read it, just for like videos and all that kind of stuff. And then I added them to my bookshelf, and as you can see, they're color coded by what I read them in. And then here's my 25 books I want to read in 2025. I read 2 of the books. I read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood and Onyx Storm. I still have some empty spaces, as you can see, but I like to add in books throughout the year. My books bought page. I bought 3 books this month. I don't think this was bad at all, but I do like to have a place where I put all of the books that I buy. So my faves of the year. Last year, my 2024 journal, I was doing like 1 or 2 books, but this year I'm going to try to keep it 1 per month because I have another spread that is like my Hall of Fame. I'll show you guys right now. That's where I will put like my 5-star reads. This is my book club picks. The month of January we had Quicksilver. My series tracker, I still haven't updated just because I'm so intimidated by all of the series that I'm currently reading. But yeah, this needs to be worked on, so I haven't updated it, but I did finish the Fourth Wing series, which is the Empyrean series, so I have to do that. I also finished the Sacred Stones trilogy, so I need to put that on here, and then obviously all the ones that I'm currently in the middle of. And then this is my calendar. I like to go in and mark the days that I was reading a certain book, just so I can see how long a book takes me or how quick I read it. And I think it's just gonna look so cool all filled in at the end of the year. Then I have my rereads page. Like I said, I had 1 reread at the beginning of the year, which was Fourth Wing. I added that there, and I have my rereads TBR. If there's ever a book that I think I want to reread, I will write it down here and kind of make it like a little TBR. This is my Hall of Fame. I'm gonna put like all of my 5-star reads throughout the year. In the month of January, you can see I had 2. I have some blank pages. Now we're going on to my monthly pages. This is my January spread. I always like to have a cute little design title page and my TBR. I added all of my prompt jar TBR picks, and then I like to go in and put what prompt I got if it was picked from a TBR. Onyx Storm was like a personal TBR pick, so that one doesn't have a prompt, but I only read 2 of my TBR, so that's why only 2 of them have the check marks. I like to have a place where I can see my TBR in one space. And then we go into my wrap-up page. This is exactly what I envisioned my wrap-up pages to look like, but I just added kind of a little bit of the theme. I still need to go in and erase my pencil lines, but I like my wrap-up to be, I want to be able to see all of the books that I read in one place, all of the book covers and the rating. So that's obviously what we have here. Last year's journal, I had a spread that was specifically for tropes. So I had like a fake dating box, and every time I read a fake dating book, I would write the title under in that box. It was hard to keep up, so I'm just doing this now. I add some of the tropes for each of the books, or just things that I want to remember of the book. If I ever want to remember what a book is about, I'll go and open my wrap-up page and look at the tropes. Liking how this is looking. I think this is going to be the setup for every wrap-up. I'll do like some type of title, and then we will either scatter the books or something in like a cute little design. But now we're moving on to my favorite part of the reading journal for this month. I've seen people do like written reviews in their journals and put pictures and stuff. I personally don't like written reviews just because I never know how to write it down, like how to put my thoughts into words. So I did aesthetic page with pictures that I found on Pinterest. I'm gonna be doing this for either like my favorite books of the month or my 5-star reads, or whatever book I just feel like it needs an aesthetic page. I did 2 this month for January. I did my first one, which is, you guessed it, Not in Love. I did the title, I put the book, the rating, and then I just put a bunch of pictures that I found on Pinterest. I added some quotes, some stickers, and I'm just obsessed because every time I'm thinking about them or want to remember this book, I just open the spread and I just get reminded of everything that I loved. And then I did one for Iron Flame. I still need to go in and add, I'm gonna write a quote here and here, but I really like how it's looking. I don't know, I'm just so obsessed with how this one came out. And all of these pictures I just found on Pinterest and printed them on my printer, so it's just super easy. From here I just have my February title page and my February TBR with the prompts and some of my personal picks for the month. But yeah, that is what my journal looks like so far with 1 month of reading. And then this is obviously us going into the new month. I can't wait to see what we're gonna create this month. Really hope that I find some favorite books so I can do some aesthetic pages as well. But my February wrap up and February aesthetic pages or book spreads will be in next month's wrap up. If you're into like the reading journal updates, definitely watch my wrap up next month. But that is it for this journal update. Okay, so that is it for my wrap up and my reading journal. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like this new concept of the bookish reading report. I'm gonna be doing this next month, so definitely keep an eye on that. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Comment down below what your favorite book was in January, because I'm curious to see what other people's favorite books were. Mine was Not in Love, obviously. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.